What's going on, friends? I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, and welcome to my 2023 Best Of video. This is the time of year where we take a look back at the year that was and look forward to the year that is. And I have to say, 2023 was a really interesting year in terms of all the stuff that I do here on this YouTube channel. Firstly, most of the videos that I make are almost always pedal related, and we did look at like 30 plus pedals this year, but we saw more gear on this channel than ever before, and I'm very excited about that. So rather than this video just being my top 10 pedals of the year, we're gonna take a look back at some of my favorite gear that I looked at throughout the year, starting with guitars. I don't know if this comes across in all the guitar videos that I've made here on the channel, but I'll just say it outright. I love making guitar demos. Of course, who doesn't love having a bunch of guitars that you can just pull off the rack around at any given moment? But I love seeing the range of guitars. I love seeing what is in the low end, the mid tier, and the high end. It's always amazing how you can find great finds in all those categories and even find bad ones in all three categories. Now, we had 4 guitars that we looked at in depth here on the channel, and 2 really stand out. First up, the Sterling by Music Man AL40P Albert Lee signature model. I was very excited to meet the Sterling by Music Man crew at NAMM 2023 in Anaheim, and even more excited to be able to have the AL40P in my possession for a good chunk of time. Not only did I really come to love this guitar for how comfortable it was to play, but also its uncanny ability to be a secret riff machine. Even cooler is I actually got the opportunity to use the AL40P live. It did everything I wanted it to do and more, and I think it definitely deserves a spot on anybody's best of gear list, especially considering that all that instrument was only $600. But there is one guitar that sits ever so slightly higher than the AL40P, and that is Vola's Vosti KJM J2. Now, I actually demoed the all-white version of this very guitar for Vola's YouTube channel, say a year and a half ago, and I really came to love the guitar. But there was an opportunity to take on this matte black and gold finished model and incorporate it into my guitar rotation. You'll actually be seeing that in a future video, which should only be about a month or so away, because I did a really cool modification to it that I think you guys are gonna like. But there are so many things I can say about this guitar. It's comfortable, the build quality is outstanding, and the sounds, there are so many that you can get out of it. It was very clearly designed by a guy who needed one guitar to do everything, and I have it on good authority that Casper Jalili, the guy whose signature model it is, had that exact intent in mind when making this guitar. You've seen it in tons of demos outside of its own featured demo, and it has become my main guitar for playing at church these days. I absolutely love it, and I love it even more now that I've made that modification, but that is another video for another time. From the guitar world, now we switch over to the amp world, and we looked at more amps this year than we've ever looked at here on the channel before. And if I had to choose an overarching theme for the amp videos that we did this year, I would say change my mind is the phrase that seems most appropriate. First, the Line 6 Catalyst 60. This was not an amp that I really was anticipating getting a chance to ever look at, really. Mostly because of, like I mentioned in the video, spider trauma has kind of made me shy away from just about any Line 6 amplifier that I encounter. But this one, well, Sweetwater said, hey, you want to check one out? And I said, sure, why not? And I was very pleasantly surprised by it. I think overall the best part about Catalyst is the editor app, which really lets you dial in presets to how you want them to sound. And you can do far more than just the two that you think are available to you when you take it out of the box. I never thought I would get the chance to work with the mighty Peavey, and yet somehow 2023 saw fit to make it happen. And we didn't just look at one amp, 2 amps, we looked at 3 different amplifiers, the entire mini head range from Peavey, and every single one of them floored me. The Classic 20, I figured that would be a great clean pedal platform, but it proved itself to be an amazing crunch sound, great for classic rock and even old school hard rock. Then the 6505 MH, how could you not love that amplifier? Well, in the past I've not previously loved that particular circuit, but I've gotten to appreciate it more as I've gotten older. And to have it in a platform that's 20 watts and that I can actually turn the thing up and not blow everybody in the house away, I was very happy to have something that was a bit more controllable than the 50 or the 100 watt beasts. But my favorite was absolutely the Invective MH. Not only did it carry over all that great high gain stuff from the 6505, but it gave it more of a modern twist. And as a guitar player who plays more modern rock styles of music, having an amp tailored for those sounds, but with a clean channel that took pedals like an absolute champ, that meant that this was one of my favorite amps of the year. With those 3 amplifiers, Peavey really went up in my estimation, and it looks like 2024 will be yielding some very cool new products, not necessarily in the amp realm, but in the guitar realm from Peavey. I certainly hope we see some of that at the NAMM show. But of all the amps, the one that really took that whole change my mind attitude was the Fishman Loudbox Micro. I said it very plainly in the video that I never understood the point of acoustic guitar amplifiers until the Loudbox Micro showed up and I actually played the thing. I love how high headroom it is, that it really doesn't color your acoustic electric guitar tone. And if you're using a pickup that isn't just a magnetic and has a microphone element to it, that is all the better, because all the color you want should come from the acoustic guitar. But I loved getting the chance to actually use it in a performance context. I loved the chance to bring my wife into the fold and for us to play one of our songs for you all in that video. I really enjoyed the experience of using it as a sort of mini PA system, and I think she did as well. The reverb sounded great on the vocal and the guitar, and I really loved adding just a touch of that chorus to the guitar just for a little extra sparkle.
Don't know the trigger, neither do you. At a moment's notice, flick of a switch, the change is so sudden, with barely a glitch. Your appearance doesn't change, except for inside, but I can see the difference. I can see there's a fine line between Jekyll and Hyde. Not only genius, but madness inside. Don't wanna be there when your 2 worlds collide. 'Cause next thing I know, I'm running for my life.
And now we come to it, the yearly tradition, my top 10 pedals, or 10-ish pedals of 2023. Our first pedal in at number 10 is one that comes from a company that has made pedals that I've really enjoyed, but this particular multi-effect really brings up their game a bit, much more than just being that Chinese company that makes mini pedals. And it is the FX200 multi-effects unit from Flamma Innovation. I think the thing that really made me love this was just how good some of the amp models sound. And the fact that the barrier of entry for this, which is roughly $250, means that if you're a guitar player on a budget, you have access to so many different amplifiers and effects, and not to mention speaker simulations and delays, reverbs, what have yous. There's so much to this, and it is so low in price, and the sound quality is so good that I couldn't not put it on the best of list. This year, we saw the debut of an entirely new product line from my buddies at Walrus Audio, the Fundamental series. Now, this year, we took a look at two different pedals from that series on the channel, the Phaser and the Distortion. But my personal favorite between the two has got to be the Fundamental Distortion. It does share a lot of similarities with the Iron Horse, which in and of itself is based on a really good Proco Rat. And the fact that you have three different voices to that Rat style distortion means that one of my favorite distortion pedals of all time has a few more options and a shorter or smaller price tag than a good Rat is. Plus, who doesn't love these sliders? This is like the coolest new control layout for pedals in a very long time. The number 8 slot is occupied by not one, but two different pedals from Westminster Effects. First, the Physician Dynamic Overdrive, a refined clone of the Landgraf Dynamic Overdrive that I feel really drives that dynamic point home. And then the one that recently came out, the Armistice Overdrive, a collaboration with Pedally benefiting Guitars for Vets. Now, why exactly do both of these pedals occupy a single slot? Well, it has to do with the fact that they both kind of do a very similar thing in that they're very dynamic gain staging pedals, but they do them in completely different ways to where the Physician can get a bit heavier. The Armistice really excels in that low to low mid gain kind of thing. I believe I said in the video, but I'll say it here in this one, that this could very well be your favorite or your new favorite always on pedal. Next up, the number 7 pedal coming to us from Beatronics, and if you've been following their releases this year, you know that it is Nectar. Now, I've posted about this quite a few times because not long after I finished the video for Nectar, this wound up on my praise and worship pedal board, and funnily enough, it stays in the fuzz mode all the time. I love the thick and chewy kind of gain that it gives, but it doesn't go over the top. It actually works beautifully as a sort of fine line between heavy distortion and thick, light fuzz. Really, it's just an incredibly pleasing sound that works well with tons of different effects and has quickly become one of my go-to drive pedals. Now, for those of you that don't know, I am a Sweetwater affiliate, and as part of that, we have a relationship with Sweetwater that allows me to check out certain pieces of gear that might need some video coverage or that I might be interested in. Well, something landed in my lap that I was intrigued by, but wasn't really sure if it was going to be something for me. Well, I was proved dead wrong by the Rex mic pre from Grace Design. Basically, it's a microphone preamp in an effect pedal. Now, okay, that's all well and good, but what makes it so special? Well, first off, just being able to have a mic pre in a floor unit is great for, say, streamers or live performers. Having a boost and a mute switch right at your feet is a very cool thing indeed. But what I love is what's on the back, and that is the built-in effects loop. So basically, plug in a condenser microphone, mic up your favorite acoustic guitar that doesn't have a pickup, and run some pedals through the effects loop. We did that quite a bit in that video, and I absolutely loved the results. Chorus, lo-fi generators, and all kinds of crazy reverbs. This thing opened up a whole new world of possibilities, and I absolutely love it and continue to use it to this day. And now we've come to the top 5-ish, because there's way more than 5 pedals in this top 5, but there are at least 5 slots. So let's start with number 5, and that goes to my friends NuX and their Amp Academy amp simulator. What I love about this pedal is it doesn't show me where NuX is right now. It shows me where they're going. The amp modeling in this is of a very superior quality to a lot of the other affordable amp sim pedals that I've come across. It has so many great features other than the models. The editor software is super easy to use, and you can add on overdrives, noise reduction, reverb. There's even a built-in effects loop for this thing if you want to integrate other effects with it. On good authority that what goes into the Amp Academy is going to only clue us into what to expect with the Trident processor that just was announced and is slowly starting to get out into the market. Hopefully we'll be looking at one of those soon, but if you would like to hear more from this as well as some of the other NuX products that I have checked out this year, I'm actually going to be doing demos at the NuX booth at the NAMM show on Saturday and Sunday. I'll have more news for that coming up in the next few weeks. Slot number 4 is occupied by a pedal that is actually quite near and dear to my heart, because not only is it a sort of come from behind story of a company that is brand new and has really set itself apart, but it also happens to be a signature pedal for a good friend of mine, and that is the Messiah Guitars Eddie Boost Drive. Now, the standard version looks like this, and upon completion of the video, I was informed by Eddie that he had a little surprise for me, and it looks like this. My own Eddie in a very custom lavender colored enclosure with my name on it even. White knobs and a clear knob for the boost. Sure, that certainly gives me all the feels, but the pedal, before I even knew I was going to get this, completely blew me away. It's a fantastic sounding overdrive pedal with 2 different modes, so you can get more distortion pedal tones, or you can essentially use it as a tone shaper. The boost, the single knob MOSFET boost, sounds awesome, just slamming the front end of just about any amplifier. It's super versatile, and it makes sense because Eddie himself is a working guitar player who needs a versatile pedal. And I've actually used it in a couple other videos. You would have heard that as the drive tone or using to push the front end of another amplifier, and it just sounds fantastic. Certainly going to be working its way into a future pedal board build, so stay tuned for that. last 3 slots on the list are where things get a little bit hairy because all 3 of these slots really, well, they're occupied by more than one pedal. In the number 3 slot, it doesn't just go to one pedal, it goes to 2, and they both come from high wind amplification. Now, I love the Direwolf Overdrive, which in and of itself is probably the most modded Tube Screamer style overdrive I've ever played, and I absolutely love it. But my favorite amongst the 2 pedals from Highwind that we looked at this year is the Fire and Sword preamp pedal. Why? Simple. It's an Orange Rocker Verb 100 preamp section for the dirty channel in a pedal with a boost, a 1-knob boost that's either a simplified version of the Direwolf or the Pepper's Pedals Dirty Tree. It captures the sound of my amplifier, my favorite amplifier that has inspired me to create music for well over a decade, and it won't be long before I have one in my collection. And that thing is almost assuredly going to be a permanent pedal board placement. Oh boy, slots 1 and slots 2 are going to be really hard to actually solidify. Even though I've written down a list and I've given it some thought and I feel like my decisions are right, I still feel like both 1 and 2 could very easily swap places on any given day. What you should really think of, though, is the fact that both companies that occupy the number 2 and the number 1 slot, which you could essentially think of as tied for first, really, are just pushing forward, doing things that are absolutely amazing, not just for guitar pedals, but incorporating these pedals into other usages as well, both in the studio, running tracks through them, synthesizer stuff. Bass players, you should seriously be looking at some of these things because the textures that they provide are absolutely incredible. So let's just start with the pedals that, well, there are 3 pedals for number 2 that could be number 1. I'm making this way too confusing, so let's just talk about them. This year, 3 pedals arrived from my pals at Chase Bliss in the form of the Generation Loss Mark II, the Mood Mark II, and then finally, Lossy. Now, we could very easily put these in slot 1, like I said, but it's kind of hard for me to pick a favorite amongst these 3 because they're just so interesting. Every single one. We bookended the season with Generation Loss and Lossy, and somewhere in the middle we had Mood. And I kind of feel like each of these has been a kind of high watermark for the season. I really loved finally getting to have a Generation Loss in my possession to see what it could do for me, and it could sure do a lot. But Mood was always my dark horse favorite Chase Bliss pedal. It did things that I didn't have with other pedals, and it just improved upon it with the Mark II version. I've used both in the ensuing months since I've had them for other videos, compositions, you name it. But when Lossy came out, I wasn't really sure what to make of it. Until I got one, until I heard it and then got one. I got to use this live twice before I filmed the video, and it really helped me see just how cool some of these textures could be. Overall, this year, Chase Bliss really outdid themselves with 3 incredible pedals and, well, really a 4th because there's Reverse Mode C, but I didn't get to check that one out yet. But the point is, these things just sound absolutely incredible. Chase Bliss is always a winner in my book, and quite frankly, even though this is the number 2 slot, these could very easily be the champions for the year, but there's something else that stuck out above these. But until we get to that, let's hear a little bit of each of these guys. To knock pedals by Chase Bliss out of the top spot, you better be doing something pretty dang special. And guys, I can't lie. Poly Effects is doing something really special. When I first met Loki at the NAMM show and got a chance to check out his stuff, I was completely blown away by what I was seeing and what I was hearing. Not only was Poly Effects doing something completely unseen by my eyes in the pedal world, but the possibilities that have presented themselves with both these pedals since I got them have just been absolutely extraordinary. First, the Josh Smith Flat 5 Overdrive, an incredible 2-in-1 pedal that really is unlike any 2-in-1 boost overdrive that I've played ever. First, the boosts are fantastic for coloring your tone and adding a little bit of extra push, but it's the overdrive circuit with the synthesizer style filter controls that really set it apart. You can effectively turn that overdrive into more of a lo-fi gramophone EQ pedal. You can make it a nice mild overdrive that's kind of clonish, kind of tube screamerish, or you could turn it into a really sick nasally fuzz that just, man, it grabs hold of notes and just makes them sound so cool and sometimes sort of annoying, but it is actually on my board right now. I tore this off my pedal board because I needed to shoot this video. But it's Bebo. Bebo is a pedal, yes, but Bebo is so much more than a pedal. It's a veritable patch bay, a virtual patch bay that has so many different things that you can do with it, from gain staging and dynamics, control change messages, modulations, delays, reverbs, convolution reverbs even. That recent pedal that they just come out with, Verbs, which is essentially the convolution reverbs, it all stems from Bebo. And everything that you can do in Bebo is all on this touchscreen. It's not hard to wrap your head around. The only thing that you have to wrap your head around is how you're going to use some of the effects that are built into Bebo. And all that was my favorite gear of 2023. But it's very likely that your favorite gear was not in this video. If it wasn't, I would love to know what that gear is. Leave me a comment in the comment section down below. And you never know, your comments may help inform future videos here on the channel, because if I get curious about something that you really liked, I will most definitely reach out to a company and see about checking one out for myself. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more of what I do, I would highly recommend that you join my email club. Every video I make is sent direct to your email inbox without the YouTube algorithm getting in the way. But I also run exclusive giveaways just for email club members. You're not going to find out about them unless you join. There's a link to join in the description box down below, or just enter the URL seanpiercejohnson.com/email into your web browser. To close, I just want to thank you all so much for watching my videos in 2023. And if this is the first one you've watched, you can go ahead and go back and check them out. I have no hard feelings about it. I'm just glad you're here now. I'm going to be taking a little break after this with the NAMM show coming up, and plotting a few other things that are to come in 2024. But until we see each other next, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, wishing you all watching great tone, great health, and of course, happy stomping. Cheers, friends. God bless.